Hello there. Welcome. Sorry I'm a little late from what I said I would be doing. I said I was going to be on at 10:30. I had the thing all set to go, and I don't know what happened. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, and now the intro is yesterday the intro was like on its side, and now it's actually the correct way around. So I'm improving every day. Improvements. All right. Let's see what kind of news we came up with in the last. I missed yesterday. I have no reason, but there was something that happened yesterday. I don't know if you maybe you might have heard. I don't know. There was a new model from OpenAI. Is this Strawberry? What I guess everybody's saying this is what Strawberry, the idea of Strawberry, and they've been kind of hyping it up for a while. Lots of people, different places have been hyping up this model, this thing coming out. Is it GPT-5? Is it a whole new thing? And it seems to be a whole new thing. Not. I mean, it's same high level if you squint, same general concept as GPT-4. You ask a model a question, it gives back an answer, but on a whole new level with reasoning. Now, what's the real world use case? I think we're still figuring that out. It's definitely slower. If you're doing the same. Got a bug in here. Of course, now as soon as I start paying attention, it's gone. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting, but it's not replacing GP. There it is again. It's gone. There's this bug. There's this fly, but it's bigger than it's a little bit weird. There. Oh. It's just too dark in here. I can't see anything. He's gonna be driving me nuts. But anyway, yeah. So new model. It's not a replacement for GPT. It's. I think we're still gonna use. If you like OpenAI, you're still gonna use GPT 4, 4.0 for a lot of things, because some people are saying, "Oh, this is the best model they've ever seen." I think Matt Berman even said, "This is the best model." It's like, nah, not really. I mean, it has its strengths. Its strengths in reasoning and coming up with that whole chain of thoughts and chain of thoughts and able to figure out more complicated questions. But for most, I mean, okay, yeah, it's great for that logic problem that most models haven't been able to solve. But most logic problems aren't things that you're going to be doing every single day. And so while I think it's amazing, and I think it's a fantastic step forward, it's not, or a tangential step forward. It's not going to change things today. We're still going to use the same models that we've been using for a long, long time, and because it's just not. It's not. It went by again. It's not. It's just so slow. Oh my God! Hold on. Oh, there he is. Hold on. We need more light. I'm gonna catch this thing. Sorry, you have to be with me for this. For those of you who are just joining, I was going to talk about the news, but then there's this fly flying around. He's toying with me. This fly is toying with me. I gotta stop paying attention to it. Oh, yeah, so regarding this model, OpenAI o1, I, I'm I feel like, for a while they were saying it's going to happen within 2 weeks. Maybe they should have waited 2 weeks to get. I mean, it's an interesting experiment, but it's still a bit too early to be useful for most things for most people. It's going to be interesting, but new variety of content. Yeah. Watching Matt try to kill flies on the stream, live on the stream. I'm stopping. I'm not going to pay attention to him anymore. But there's been a bunch of articles about this model, about o1. Here's one from Matt in the bug chasing stream. Yeah, Matt failed. Matt failed that quest. So there's a whole bunch of articles about this model and about this product from OpenAI, and as these guys say, it's a bit of a tease. It's really good at really complex tasks, but not so good at all the things that you're used to using. That's according to OpenAI. It's not as good as all the things you're used to using with ChatGPT and other models. So it's an interesting thing for people to play with, to learn about. I mean, the classic regarding the earlier and faster they make mistakes, the faster they learn. Sure. A lot of what people are seeing right now, they probably could have seen before they released it. But there's the classic, if you aren't embarrassed by your first release, you waited too long. That's from Reed Hastings Hoffman. Anyway, who created LinkedIn? And I feel like they should have waited a couple weeks, get a few things sorted out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to replace what we do, and it's definitely not going to change what I do. It's definitely not enough to make you think, oh, well, I don't need local models. But it's amazing. Some people are gushing about it more than I will, and if you want to hear gushing, well, there's a lot of great channels to pay attention to. But I think that's about enough to say on that one. I guess there was one guy, all the benchmarks. You know what I think about benchmarks? They're garbage, but it seems to do better. So that's interesting. I did like this whole code breaking examples. They were pretty cool. And what else is in here? Anything interesting? I do like it how there is this chain of thought happening, but they're hiding it from the end user, because whereas the most of the model is kind of cleansed, that chain of thought, they're not really making sure is good. And it's been interesting that for the people who have tried to do the jailbreaks, they're getting just denied from using it. I also found it interesting that you have to be a paid user of ChatGPT directly with OpenAI, and if you're using the API, you have to have hit tier 5, which means you've given OpenAI $1,000 over the course of some period of time. So it is a lot of articles being written about it, relatively few people using it. If they would have allowed the new models to connect to the ChatGPT memories that 4.0 can, I would be happier about the release. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the context and memories, and it's just limited. It's a wonderful experiment, and a wonderful experiment we all get to watch. But yeah, that's enough. I thought it was interesting that here's an interesting article from The Independent, which is I believe a UK paper. Is it a paper or a magazine? I think it's a newspaper. But they've just got an article talking about Apple Intelligence and how I think it's still missing kind of. It's kind of getting the point of what I find really interesting about Apple Intelligence, the fact that it's this pretty good model running really well on a phone without the compromises in battery life and everything else, and getting access to all of your information on the phone makes it really interesting. And this is just it doesn't really go into any details, but it's interesting talking about how they are, working really hard to get as much information that they can about you without really knowing who you are. So how do you get information and withhold the sensitive information, the people's names and identifying information? How do you make sure that type of stuff doesn't show up in the request to the model? So all the stuff that we know they're thinking about, along with people who think they're not. I don't know. But so it was an interesting kind of run through. What else was there? I thought this was pretty cool. So there's this company working on wiring between NVIDIA or GPU or large cards. I think it was between, it's Thor 2. Oh, between this, in these really big NVIDIA cards. And here we see all the copper cables connecting these things. And just this company is trying to build a I/O chip and using light, using fiber optics to ensure super fast speed between cards. And we see this today. See the problem. Just that copper is just so slow, even in consumer level cards. If you have a model, let's say it's a Llama 317 8 billion parameter model, and you've got a card where that entire model fits in that one card. Adding a second of that, the exact same card, means now the response time will be a lot slower than if you just had one card. Having two cards slow things down. And it's purely because the communication between the two cards is really slow. And if you can speed that up, such as with something that these guys are doing, I assume it only makes financial sense to do if you're spending $100,000 on these GPUs. But and so probably not going to make it to consumer level cards. But it's still another interesting experiment. And maybe there'll be some variation of it that comes to our side of the world. So anyway, nothing really applicable to most of us, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. And what else was there? Oh, a lot of I think the OpenAI stuff kind of drowned out everything else. Everybody was just kind of talking about that. I did find this interesting. OpenAI's Jan LeCun basically saying SB 1047 is awful, whereas Hinton saying, oh, we need it. So SB 1047 is this contentious AI safety bill in California. It looks like it's past the two sides of the leadership in California. Where's the capital? Sacramento. Um, and now it's waiting on Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to sign it. And he has the option of signing it, vetoing it, or not signing it and just letting it pass into law. So I think he's got three choices. And it's still pretty unclear what he's going to do. I think he's getting a lot of advice from both sides. So it's got to be a super challenging decision. What do you do when all these people that you trust and a lot of other people that you probably don't trust or have no relationship with, but what do you do when all these really smart people with different perspectives and different things that are pushing them towards this decision, whether sometimes it's a financial gain or financial loss, but you got all these people who are saying, yes, it's good, and no, it's terrible. How do you decide which one to do? So I'm glad I don't have to be in his shoes because it is interesting. I can see just as many reasons why he should pass it as why he should not. I think mostly not pass makes more sense, but it is interesting. I don't know if anybody has comments on this 1047 bill. You know, if you're outside of California and outside of the U.S., you might think, well, it doesn't apply to me, but kind of does. Just like GDPR affects a lot of American companies, even though it's a EU, even though it's a EU thing. So some of these bills or decisions that governments make in regions that are way far away from wherever we are do have a big impact. It's California. It will make the worst decision. Maybe. I don't know if there is a worse decision on this one. He generally does pretty good. So, what else we got? Here's another interesting one. AI can change belief in conspiracy theories, study finds. So there was this study done and this website created to build a system that could debunk conspiracy theories, whatever your conspiracy theory that you believe in. And they managed to get a little over 2,000 people who believe in certain conspiracy theories to take part in this program. Now, I'm not sure what they had to do what did they get for doing this? Because I went to DebunkBot and I put in, a conspiracy theory that, well, I know is true. I mean, it's not like, I guess people who believe in conspiracy theories believe they're true, but, something that we 100% absolutely know absolutely is true. So I just typed it in, Joe Biden won the election. I believe this because I've, my friends and I've read it online. Something, it's not a conspiracy theory, but what would happen when you put that in? And it was interesting how it didn't really, first off, it says, wow, that's actually pretty true. Do you want to continue the conversation? And so you continue the conversation, and it tries to convince you to just look at all the information. I think that's mostly what it's trying to say. But it almost, in a way, felt like it was trying to convince me maybe he didn't win. So maybe it just looks at whatever you've entered in. Maybe whatever you're thinking what isn't true, regardless of whether it is or is not true. That said, there was another article about, I didn't pull that up, just about how people don't trust AI for questions about politics, and nor should they really, unless it's historical. You know, asking a model which of these two candidates is better, how's it gonna know? Or how's it know? It doesn't know. I mean, how's it doesn't know all the variables, especially the variables that apply to you. You know, I believe a certain way, and yet my wife's sister and her family believe in a completely different way. We're both right, and so is there? Uh, a model can't possibly know, what is the right thing around, and so there. I think that's why a lot of these models are being tweaked to make sure that they don't respond to any sort of political questions coming up. I don't know. Those kind of weird tangents, tangent on tangent on tangent. I don't really have that much to talk about today because I mean, OpenAI seems to take the big news, and it's kind of not that. It's interesting, but not interesting. Anyway, any thoughts? One of my more wishy-washy streams. I need more questions to come up in the comments. Anybody here? What else is going on? Oh, I didn't check to see if there's any new Ollama releases. Let's check that out. So it looks like okay, people are here. Yeah, it looks like there's nothing really new that came out. Any new models? Well, at least on the Ollama side. One more. Reader LM. A series of models that convert HTML content to Markdown. I thought that was a good idea. Quick breakfast. Where are you? Yeah, anybody who doesn't do their own fact checks is easy to manipulate. Why AI written articles are scary because of the way AI can be manipulated. Yeah, and so many folks have pointed out, one of the dangers, one of the big risks with any of the AI models is that they can show and amplify our biases, whether it's the biases of the person asking the question or the person whose content kind of trained the model. Yeah, it's that can be scary. But I guess we've always had articles that can be written. If you read up a book on copywriting or anything that teaches you how to convince others to believe a certain way, to buy a certain product. We've always had these tools, but it required somebody to really learn how to do it and to create that kind of content. Otherwise, nobody would have ever bought Sea Monkeys. But somebody made it really convincing to me and to all the other 12-year-olds around the world to buy Sea Monkeys. But now the AI model just makes that just so much easier to do. Oh, there he is. I want him. Okay. It seems like there might be two. There's one really big fly, and then there's one more wispy fly. Anchorage, Alaska. is slash Anchorage 11. Okay, so it's an hour behind. Still a little bit late for breakfast, don't you think? I was looking for a particular website but then I couldn't spell. I always seem to go to time.is Anchorage or time.is whatever city you care about. And it does a nice. Cool. All right. When I ask it to output in JSON, it does a good job, but not as good as XML for some reason. Oh, I've seen better results when using XML when prompting an LLM. Huh? I mean, it's okay. All right. I've seen it perform amazingly well spitting out JSON. When you tell it to output JSON and when you tell Ollama to format as JSON, it's pretty hard to get it to not spit out JSON, good JSON. Just finishing code to pull API documentation into a local RAG for assisting our developers. Not sure it'll be useful yet, just a thought I had. Ollama at the core. Cool. Have you used DeepSeek Coder 2.5 yet? So I knew there about DeepSeek 2.5. Lollama. Oh, is something like that? Does that exist? Lollama. All right. Ollama.com. So DeepSeek, okay. DeepSeek Chat and DeepSeek Code. But these are all 236 billion parameter models, which I don't know about you, but I don't really have that much memory. Do they have a DeepSeek 2.5 that is normal size? DeepSeek. 80 gigabyte, 8 80 gigabyte GPUs are required. Oh, God. Yeah, sure, whatever. So, no, I have not tried. Because I am not made of money. Let's see. Anything else I need to be checking? And where else I'm supposed to be? That's usually what happens. I'm supposed to be somewhere else. Ollama and Docker. Best way to update. Update the image. Simple. Ollama or Docker, however you started, so whether it's Docker or Docker Compose, stop that image, pull the latest image, remove the image, and then pull the latest image, and then spin it up again. And as long as you've, when you ran the Docker command, again, Docker or Docker Compose, as long as you specified a volume to write it to a volume that's outside of that container, then you're fine. And that's it. That's all there is to do it. Same thing with any Docker container. You always write anything special to an external volume, and then you take that container down, remove it, pull a new version of it, and bring it back up with the same command you used before, and you're set. That's all that, there's a great tool out there called Watchtower. It's a Docker image they can run. So Watchtower, Watchtown, Tower, Docker. So this is something that will watch your Docker containers, either one specific one or all of them. And as soon as it finds one that is new, it will basically shut it down, and pull a new version of it. And yeah, gracefully shut down your existing container, restart it with the same options that were used before, and then you're set. So it's super easy. Now, if you have pulled all your models to that container, you're screwed. That's why all the documentation says use a volume. Make sure you're using an external volume. If you just do a Docker run Ollama/Ollama, you're kind of hosed. You'll just have to re-download those images again. But next time around, launch it pointing to a volume, and then you're better off. I keep pointing to Watchtower, and I keep not using Watchtower, and I having to remember, how do I do this? I need to just set up Watchtower for all the image. It's a little dangerous doing it for all images, because I mean, sometimes there are people that put out images that are just bad, and you don't always want the latest. So, but for most, especially home lab stuff, oh yeah, so they recommend do not use it in a commercial or production environment. If that's you, you should be looking at Kubernetes. I don't know about that, but my favorite quote or newspaper article title, or not newspaper, but online article title about Kubernetes was, "Oh, you're using Kubernetes. Great. Now you have 8 problems." Save the chat can be a good idea in import. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to save the chat, it's probably best to store a lot of that stuff in some other database that you're another container that you're running, and just always be saving all the messages to that container, to that database. Maybe it's also a vector store, and so you can do. Remember when I asked you about Joe Schmo, and it will be able to find mentions of Joe Schmo and bring back all of those memories? Is there an open source logger to see what your LLM is doing that is web-based? So Ollama itself doesn't expose any monitoring outside of the log. And so you can turn on debug logging, which will log all the messages into the log. But I think it's generally not recommended, because maybe it will slow things down. I don't know. But then there's a lot of potentially sensitive information in that log. But there are plenty of tools that will watch all of the different models that you're using, whether it's Ollama or LM Studio or OpenAI or Claude or all these other things. And basically you're looking for OpenTelemetry. There are OpenTelemetry. Is there anything that shows up for Ollama? Yeah, so OpenLit, I think, is one of them. Not actually the one I was thinking of. Hello. Yeah. Oh, hi, Jade. So there's OpenLit, but there's also another one, one that has a fancier web page. OpenLLemetry. A lot of these require. I always laugh whenever I see honeycomb. see. I thought there was another one. There's a bunch of these that exist. Open telemetry, AI models. I can't remember what it was that I saw pretty recently. Of course, now it's not coming up at all. Tools anytime last year. Open. Open telemetry. Trace loop? Maybe it was trace loop. No, I already looked at trace loop. That was open LLMetry. There was another one that I saw. God, who was that? Had a great looking website. Oh, maybe it was this. Light LLM? No, that wasn't it. That definitely wasn't it. Guardrails? I don't know who it was. But there's another one. And there's probably a few of these out there if you just look for the right thing. Any other questions? Maybe I just want to use LLM observability. Observability. Ah, that might have been. No, there was one that I think might even reached out to do a sponsorship. So anyway, I'm already running into a few. Y Labs. But again, the one of the problems is that there's not a lot of interesting. There's not a lot of telemetry that Ollama spits out. There's no endpoint. There's no Prometheus endpoint for Ollama, at least not yet. Which is I find really bizarre, because one of the guys inside of the Ollama team, who really the main one who does a lot of the bringing in new models, but also he does so much more as well. He's so gung-ho about Prometheus endpoints and observability, and that's kind of what he did at previous companies. I think, and in fact, everybody at Ollama were kind of all brought together because we were into this kind of stuff, observability, and I came from Datadog, but all of us had that kind of observability connection. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Questions? I'm starting to put together an interesting little tool for collecting news items. It's still rough. Still, I mean, it's mostly about what news items. So right now, when I want to cover things on this program, I have on my browser, on my over here on my main machine, my Arc browser, I have a a bookmarklet that basically just copies the title and the URL, puts it in the clipboard, and I can paste it into a Obsidian doc. It's okay. It works great on my machine, but as soon as I go here, it's less. I mean, it's more kludgy, more of a hassle to work with. And so I started looking into. Well, I use InnoReader as my feed reader, and could I can tag any item in InnoReader, and when I add it to a tag, I can then subscribe an RSS feed to that tag. And so every time there's a new item, whatever is reading that RSS feed will see, oh, there's a new item. So then I started using one of these kind of automation, no-code kind of tools that I've liked for a long time. There's a number of them out there. I mean, these all kind of started with Yahoo Pipes. That was like the first of them. But If This Then That, or Zapier, sorry, or I've done a look at Defy here on this channel, but there's also Rivet and Flowise that are all AI specific. But then there's another one that's, I think, blows all of those out of the water because of the number of integrations it has. And that's N8N. IO? Yeah. So N8N is amazing, and it has so many integrations, and really cool tool to look at. And they also have AI pieces in there, and you can replace that the model that you're using with Ollama and have it work with Ollama. It's all using LangChain underneath. But then you can have what I have it doing is as soon as one of my integrations, one of the workflows that I have is it checks the AI. No, it checks the, what does it check? How do I have it running? Oh, every 5 minutes, it checks to see if if there is a new live stream scheduled in YouTube. Because in Ecamm, I can create a new live stream and schedule it, but I can't add it to a playlist, which is super frustrating. But I can add that live stream, and so I can have N8N say, look at YouTube for any live streams that are coming up in the future. If there is one, and it has news in the name, then check if it's in the playlist, AI News, and if it's not, go ahead and add it to the playlist. And that way it runs automatically, and it just happens. And then I have another one. This is totally, I'll point to a GitHub repo. Don't use it yet. I mean, I'm sure you will, but because it's not, I'm still tweaking the idea of it. Let's see, Technovangelist / what do I call it? Interesting news. And I mean, it's even going into the wrong day. But the idea here is this is looking at that RSS feed for that particular tag, and everything that it finds in there, it picks up, it throws it right away in Supabase. And then that's kind of my way of making sure I'm only grabbing one of each URL. So now I'm pulling out of Supabase, and if the summary field isn't filled in, then hand it off to Ollama and run. So hand it off to Ollama, do a summary, simple summary. I'm just using Llama 3.1 and then summarizing the article. Oh, so it's going to download the full article. So HTTP browse HTTP HTML no yeah HTTP, it downloads the whole article, tries to get just the article, and then summarizes that, shoves the summary back into the Supabase row for that article, and then what happens? And then gets all of the articles and creates a new document on, or just rewrites this document on the document for today. Obviously, it's not working because that's yesterday. Um, but add all the stuff for that document or for that day into the document, and so that's how I have these kind of summarized. But anything that's a Google News, it doesn't redirect, even though I have it redirecting. It's not redirecting, and so I get no summary for that one. But generally, these are pretty interesting. And then I've gone ahead and from this filter it down to just the ones that are more applicable, and that goes into my Obsidian for today. And what I want it to do, I just started playing with this again yesterday. I used to do so much with N8N, and then I haven't touched it in years, 3 years, 4 years. In fact, if you go on N8, you do a search on N8N for Terraform. There's a Terraform script for pushing to EC2, and I wrote that. So I wrote that 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So I was using it a lot. But so what I wanted to do now is figure out when was the last live stream that I completed, when is the next one scheduled for. So find all the news items in Supabase between those two dates. And then the rest of the process is totally fine. It works as is. I just connected YouTube this morning. So find all those articles and then push those into this document, but this document for whatever the day is. And then at the top, I can say, to watch the stream, click on this link because I have all the information because I figured out what is the next live stream. So I can have it all right here. I need to make it so that I can also add, my thoughts, not just an AI generated summary, but what do I actually want to say about it? So that's my my kind of N8N journey right now. I think it's really cool. I think it's super cool. I'll probably be doing more content around N8N, especially AI specific stuff, because it is just so cool. I'll have to see if maybe I can get a sponsorship or something. I don't know. Because I do find it awesome. And I mean, they do charge. Oh, I said that it's not totally true. So N8N, they have N8N Cloud, which costs some money, $20 a month or $50 a month, depending on how many executions you're doing and do you want access to global variables and such. Or you can self-host. And actually, the version I have running right now is the self-hosted. They just put out, just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, put out AI. Self-hosted AI starter kit. And so it's a Docker Compose file. I had to adjust mine a little bit. But a Docker Compose file you can run, and it spins up Ollama and Qdrant for vector store, Postgres, which is used for most of Ollama, and then N8N. It's a little annoying that it points to a number of things that you don't get because you're not paying for it, but still, it's pretty sweet. A sweet platform. Really, really cool. Grant Powell, N8N is a backbone to a lot of my not a dev business structure. It's incredible. Yeah, it's just it's so cool. I mean, now for a while I was thinking, well, now why am I using this thing when I could just, I'm kind of a developer. I can I can take the read the API, especially if there's something that doesn't have a block in N8N, and you just want to um, point to a new. I needed it for pulling out live streams from YouTube, even though it's the data API. I still needed to go to an endpoint that's not. I don't think it was in the list of things blocks I can use in 8.8n. And so at that point, well, why am I not just using the API directly? And it's purely around the credentials. So they've got this great way of storing credentials and using those credentials for different blocks, which is awesome. A question came in from Dead Flea. Possible to explain what exactly /save model, save your current session, means when I press /? While I have an LLM active, and how to delete saves safely. Okay, so what save is doing, you do /save and you call it some name, my cool new model September 13th. And what you've done there is you've taken all the settings that are for that model, so the system prompt, parameters, what this model came from, and all those types of things, and you're saving it to a new model and kind of bypassing the model file. So that's what you've done. When you do save, it'll also save, I think it probably also saves the at least the last few chat messages if you've chatted with the model in the CLI. It'll save those last few things. And that's what it's saving. If you want to delete those, well, then you just go into Ollama RM from the command line, not in the REPL, but back at the command line, Ollama RM, and then whatever you call it, the model. Now, if you keep saving on top of, say, Llama 3.1, you started with Llama 3.1 and you keep saving on top of Llama 3.1, I don't know what happens then. If you want to go back to just regular Llama 3.1, then you'd have to remove Llama 3.1 and then pull Llama 3.1 down again, I think. I don't know what happens there. It's kind of I'm not sure how I feel about the save command. It's okay. It's kind of like how in Kubernetes. So think of Docker but harder and far more complicated. But with Docker, you have two ways of modifying your, God, I've already forgotten what they're called, your pods. And so you can either do the conversion in kubectl, and it's kind of, you're doing it interactively and adding different number of replicas and number of all the other things that you can add to a Kubernetes pod, or you can do it in the manifest in a file, and all the Kubernetes docs will always say, don't do it interactively. Always do it in a file, because it's so easy to do something temporarily and then lose it. I think there may be some plugins for kubectl that will allow you to save what you've done. Actually, you can just output it to a new YAML file, and that's what save is trying to do, is trying to serialize what you've done, but then it kind of skips the model file part and just serializes to a new model. So it's sort of related, but not really. I remember when, who was it? One of the three founders of Kubernetes said it was on stage, and there were a couple. I think that was the time when it was the guy who started Heptio, whichever one that was. Um, I think in that same presentation, he said that the reason why they went with Golang for Kubernetes was it was just whenever you learn a new language, you look for um, a test project, a nothing project to play around with, and so they started learning Golang, and they were just happened to be playing around with this idea of um, making a version of the Borg, which is the internal system at Google, making that more for public use. And that turned into Kubernetes. And so this was their starter project to start learning about Kubernetes, start learning about Golang. And they never intended that, playing around with a new language to now force everybody else to, if you build anything with Kubernetes, you must use Golang, which is totally not true. But most people think they need to, because, yeah. But what else did he? Oh, the other thing he said, well, with you create manifests in YAML. I guess you can also do it in JSON, but they never expected anyone to have to directly deal with those YAML files. They always thought that somebody was going to come up with some front end, and you would just work with Kubernetes through a front end. You would never use manifest files, which was also, definitely not true today. All right, so nothing that saves conversations at all. I mean, sort of. If you want to save conversations, your best bet is to use a tool like Misty or OpenWebUI, or there's other ones that, if you prefer the command line, there's command line front ends for Ollama. Ollama, the CLI is not meant for. Ollama first and foremost is a developer tool, and then it's meant for developers and give them a place to start building out their own front ends for Ollama. So you can kind of save the conversation, but I don't know if it all actually saves. And there's not really a way to save the conversation in Ollama. That's really something that you need to use one of these third parties for. That's how it was designed. What's your advice when deploying a Neo4j database when using Neo4j AuraDB, and when we can host it on a Docker image on my device? Neo4j on a device? Are you joking? I have never seen anything. Oh, no, that's not true. There are very few products that I've used recently that are as heavy and over-engineered as Neo4j. It is just, it's a beast. I remember when this is there was a demo that was done for DockerCon on stage, and it was Jeff from Ollama and Harrison, I think, from LangChain, and somebody from Neo4j. It might have been somebody else. I don't know how Neo4j got involved. We were going to use I think something super light like Chroma, but for some reason Neo4j got into it, and if it had been on Chroma, just a MacBook Air could have been fine hosting this demo, but because of Neo4j, they wanted to do it on a Linux box, which meant, well, actually no, could we have done it? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. They wanted to do it with Linux, or they wanted to do it. Oh, and they wanted to get rid of Ollama because they're saying that's what's slowing it down. But no, it was purely around Neo4j. Just we needed to supply a M2 Studio with 192 gigs just to get Neo4j to run. It was so huge. Yeah, craziness. So what's my recommendation advice when deploying a Neo4j database? Go find Chroma or go find any other database is my recommendation. Even though I have a Neo4j mug. Get the mug and go do something else. Okay, I'm using OpenWebUI with Pinocchio, but it only works online. Sometimes I lose internet and I want to keep going. I don't know why Pinocchio. I understand Pinocchio is a tool for. I don't understand why Pinocchio is involved with OpenWebUI. What is Pinocchio doing? You can just install OpenWebUI and Ollama. I don't know why it needs to be online. You install Ollama and you install OpenWebUI or Misty or something else. But I'm not sure what. Yeah, what is Pinocchio? Pinocchio. Hmm. I don't see why. What's the benefit of? It's pretty easy to install OpenWebUI. I'm not sure what Pinocchio offers as well. Sometimes when I lose internet, I want to keep going. You should be able to keep going with OpenWebUI and Ollama. So I guess I'm missing something there. Apologies if it's already been discussed. If it has been, I will go back and find it in the video on demand. But what are your thoughts on Apple's Apple Intelligence? I think so. It has been yesterday and well, not yesterday, 2 days ago on this stream, as well as earlier today. But I love talking about it, so I'll talk about it again. I think it's easy install. Yeah, but so is just installing OpenWebUI if you're just doing with Docker. It's super easy to install it's just a Docker compose up command, and you're set. So I don't know what the benefit of Pinocchio is. But it's a pretty website. Okay, I have it running now on my device for only 174 nodes and 10,000 edges, but didn't really try what will happen if I use it. Yeah, we just ran into problems. I don't know if it was that big. It was the guys who created Neo4j that were doing the demo, so I don't know why it was just so slow, and we needed a super fast machine. And every time I've tried running it on my MacBook Pro, I can't get it to run. But okay, so Apple Intelligence. So I think there's the features that have been released or are being released with the. Are they released? No, they're not released yet. Until when the new OS, iOS comes out, fully released, and when the new phones come out. Is the new OS released? Anyway, when all those things happen, then it'll have a bunch of features, and those are the features that most articles are talking about. And I don't think those are the features that are special about Apple Intelligence. I think what's special about Apple Intelligence is the fact that they've got a model that works pretty running on device, on a phone, on a iPhone 16 or 15, not this 14, but on most phones newer than this one, you can run a model well enough so that it without compromises, so without losing a lot of battery. That is what's magic. That, and also being given access to all the things that are on your phone. What's on the phone? It's your life. Everything about what you're doing and where you're going and who you work with and who you live with, it's all on your phone. And so now that model has access to all that stuff. It stays local. I mean, that's the benefit of Ollama on whatever device you have. It stays local. And it's the same thing with Apple Intelligence. It stays local until you need more. And then it opens up to stuff on their private cloud. So you can run larger jobs on their machines. It would be neat if you could, the first rung be to your, if you've got a Mac Studio or a MacBook Pro that's running, it first offloads to that. That would be really cool. And then it offloads to their cloud. And then if it needs even more, somehow it then also can move on to OpenAI models. And I think that running locally, but also having some mechanism for moving up to somewhere with more power that's the magic of Apple Intelligence. And I think the things that are showing up today, that will show up on release of the OS, are cool demos, but not that much more. It's what's really going to be magic is when software developers start using it in their applications in interesting ways. And that will be incredible, potentially. That's my coming in beta this fall, but iOS 18 is releasing on Monday. Great. You need this is a iPhone 14, so it will not run on here. iOS 18 will run on here, but the Apple Intelligence stuff will not, because it needs the 15 Pro or Pro Max or the 16, which comes out on the 20th. Your thought on it is the same as mine. I'm really excited to see what it can really be used for inside of new applications. Yeah, I mean, there are some applications. Oh, there's that fly again. It went, I don't know. It's huge. He's huge. I think there's going to be applications that are I find it so annoying that an application that came out that did really interesting things with the technology available to it. Uh-oh. Did I get it? It kind of flew away slowly. I don't know if I got it though. He's recovering. Yeah, so there was a great tool on the iPad called Procreate, and they did amazing things with the technology available at the time. And rather than deciding to do great things with the next technology that comes out, they've instead chosen to bury their head in the sand and pretend it's not there, which I think is just going to hold them back and make somebody else overtake them. So it's unfortunate when companies like that say stupid. I can't think of any way to describe what the Procreate CEO said other than just sheer stupidity. It's just aggravating that when people say that. It's like all the people that got in a huff about the crushing ad that Apple did, which I thought was so amazing for showing how you can be so creative, where all these tools that we used to need, big things for, so much of that we can do on just a simple iPad. It's incredible. It was inspiring. It's an inspiring ad, and yet people decided to take a weird, like the whole God, who was it? The opening ceremonies for the Olympics, and the dancers or whatever that took a play on a classic painting about these Greek gods kind of doing crazy things, and then churches saying, oh, well, it's the Last Supper, when it had nothing to do with the Last Supper. Oh my God. I don't know. I have tangent after tangent after tangent. Sorry. There was a point to this. I don't know. Rather than just talking about stupid people. Any other questions I missed? Well, I've been going for an hour and 11 minutes when I had nothing to say. um, yeah, I haven't seen the fly come back. So he might be dead on the floor. I'm hoping. Jade, what's up? You need to go for... Oh, yeah. So my dog is spinning around, and that is usually a sign. You're the best. Thanks for your help. Well, thank you, Dead Flea. Why is the name Dead Flea and your head is a bunny rabbit with a tie? Yeah, my dog's spinning. So that either means she needs to pee, she needs to eat, or she wants to go on a walk. Oh, what's your favorite model to use in Ollama? Some people get excited by the larger models. They annoy me. I don't want to use a large model. I don't want to use in most cases, there are some cases where I want a 70 billion parameter model or larger. But most cases, I don't. I don't want that stuff. I want a small model. And what I'm most excited about over the next year is more people building models that are, and fine-tuning models that are tiny. And I get most excited about the really small models. So I love Phi 3.5, yeah. And as well as some of the other really small models. And the fact that you can get so much, they are so good. And for a lot of things, if you, run, come up with a prompt and you run it in Phi 3.5 and create 10 copies of it, and you run it in Llama 3.1 70 billion, 10 copies of that, and then you mash them all together, I think it's pretty, in most cases, it's kind of hard. You wouldn't be, if you look at one and the other and you know which one's which, it's like, oh, well, yeah, obviously that one's came from that bigger model. But if you just kind of mash them up and you don't actually know, I've looked at the answers from both of these. It's like, it's kind of hard to tell which one came from. They're both accurate in different ways. And sometimes one is longer than the other. And that's why you kind of have to ask like 10 times and kind of look for the best answer. Maybe you don't have to do 10. Maybe it's 5 times. Yeah, some amount of times you have to ask, because it's going to be a different answer every time. And then which ones really bubble up to the top. And sometimes that 70 billion model will bubble up to the top. But often it's those really tiny models that bubble up. And so it's frustrating to me when people will say, oh, well, anything below 70 billion is worthless. Tells me they haven't really played around with it. Or a particular model doesn't respond the way I want. It kind of indicates that you don't know how to ask the question. Mistral is great as well. I love playing around with Mistral. It's hard to say that there's any one best model, or do I have favorites? Sure, I have favorites in that they're the ones I keep going back to. Llama 3.1 I keep going back to as a kind of middle of the road, perfect. Llama 3.1 is pretty great. As long as you're not doing... A lot of people will seem to judge the models based on these goofy logic puzzles. Who cares how many murderers are left in the room? I don't care. At no point in my life have I needed to know Have I wanted to ask a question of somebody, of a human? It's like three people are in a room. One person killed, another person enters and kills the other. How many people are left alive in the room? Who cares? Why am I asking this question? So many people like to stick to questions like that to test the model, to find the edges, even though they make no sense. Yeah, I've got opinions. I've enjoyed Mistral Nemo recently. Yes, another great one. I also think that Mixtral is awesome on the Supermicro server that we've loaded with 4 NVIDIA 6000 Ada GPUs. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have. I mean, I use all Macs. I have a few. I have a 2011 Mac Mini over in that corner that's actually running Proxmox. So it's running Linux and it's running Proxmox, so virtualization. And I've got a couple of these, and there's 2 other servers that are running somewhere. I've actually been looking for them for the last few weeks. I can't find them, but they're running. I don't know if you ever have this problem. I can't find where they are. And they're also running Kubernetes and some other stuff. But they're all similar size to this. You know, they I can't fit a GPU in there. So the reason why I use, I mean, this MacBook, or no, it's a Mac Mini M1 first generation that I'm streaming from, 8 gig. So it barely runs Ollama with models, especially if I'm doing a stream. But this is just for streaming. My MacBook Pro back here is the MacBook Pro that I got when I started working for Infra that became Ollama, and so that was my my work machine, and they just gave it to me when we parted ways. But so I just use Macs. That said, I wouldn't mind kind of dabbling with some of the building my own server. If you were going to build your own server, funny that should come out because that was where that tangent was just going. What would you put in it with a 5K budget? I know you mean budget, but I prefer the word budge. I don't know. I have no idea. No idea. I have no idea what GPUs cost. I think they cost money. But I haven't bought a GPU. I don't know if I've ever bought a GPU. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever bought one. I think GPUs came out after I switched to Mac. No, that's not true. But I haven't needed a GPU for any reason, and other than the whatever came in my MacBook Pro. I have no idea what's important on that side of the world. I don't know if can I get away with a. I don't think I can get away with like a low power machine with a super fast GPU. I think I need as much GPU as I can afford and as much machine as I can afford, and kind of balance the two. That's what's so magical about the Mac, especially with Apple Silicon, is that those balancing decisions you don't really have to make because it's all unified memory and it's all they're all pretty fast. But it's a question I'd like to start looking into. I'm trying to. I've got a number of friends that work at NVIDIA. I'm trying to like, is there a way to get stuff? Of course, one of them, I asked them, he's like, so is there a way to get stuff? He says, I can't even get it. I can't get devices for my stuff. So no, you can't get it. Most important things are RAM and GPU from what we've noticed. Yeah. CPU is important, You need quick cores, not a lot of cores. Yeah, okay. Because I mean, there's that the whole once the prompt goes into the model, that first part of understanding the prompt is purely not it's not GPU at all. It's only when inference or generation starts that's where the GPU kicks in. The processing the prompt is all CPU bound, and so you want a fast CPU there. You probably don't, as you say, you don't need a lot of CPUs. But do you need if you're handling multiple models at the same time or multiple prompts at the same time, do you need multiple CPUs to handle that? I don't know, multiple threads to handle that. A world I know nothing about. I need a I'm already married, so I can't get like a sugar mama. No, I can't. I need to find some way. I mean, I guess I could just buy stuff, but I don't want to go back to work. If I buy stuff, then I have to go back to work to refill the money that I've just spent on a lot of GPUs and PCs. I like this idea of not working. Not working is really, really nice. But it means I have to be a little more careful. We have 4 Docker containers running on the server. Each container has 48 gigabyte GPU assigned to it. We have 2 models loaded onto each container at all times. Well, I may be in my 50s, but I am open to adoption. I'm fine with that, and I can do little chores around the house to pay for one of those containers to be mine. We use 85% of our VRAM with a decent bit of RAM, but each model uses 1 core of the CPU and only 1 core. Interesting. Yeah, some people will say that, bribery doesn't work. I don't know. You have this really fast container. It seems like I think I would. No, I don't know. No, I don't know. You give me a fancy GPU, I might be. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. I'll talk to the CEO about adopting next week. Perfect. Perfect. I'll leave my calendar open. Nah. I'm hoping some other things work out. Hopefully, can do some sponsorships of some kind and maybe start bringing in some more than my monthly. How much am I making with YouTube right now? About $500 a month. Yeah, I'm racking it in. I had 1 month with 750. It's like what you get at McDonald's in like a week and a bit. Oh, so cool. And I only have to produce, 10 videos a week? No problem. You might say your work would be helping us to optimize Ollama even more. Yep, totally. All right. I'm good. 17 people. I gotta stop getting excited about numbers. But that's awesome. Listen to me drivel on about nothing. Do you have an online list of different back ends and front ends? Like, I do have an online list of different back ends and front ends. Funny you should mention that. Let's go to this one. If I go to Technovan, let's just go to tvl.st. Oh, not that one. tvl.st, not with a /y. Okay, so that's my website, technoevangelist.com, because I just didn't feel like typing out technoevangelist.com. And if you go here, this is my terrible website. And you can see it's terrible because I haven't updated the video since April of this year. It's been a few months since April. But on here, oh, and then I wrote about the newsletter I put out in the 1st of May, or 2nd of May. And that was the first and last newsletter that I put out. Yeah, I'm terrible at this. But anyway, in here, there's an annotated list of Ollama web and desktop integrations. And it was last modified 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. I'll get the right time in a second. 17 minutes ago. So this is updated automatically. How do I do this? What am I doing here? I think I have a service. I really should do this. I should be doing this in N8N now that I'm using N8N. But I have a service running on my Mac, and that is just a piece of code that goes to where is it going? I think it goes to ollama.com or to the GitHub repo, pulls that list, everything after whatever is the title of that list, pulls everything down, all the links to everything. And then I take that list and then I look at the last update to GitHub. It really should be the last release, but right now it's the last merge. Or last commit to the repo. And then link it and like merge it with another list I have of all of the things I've done reviews of to generate this list. And that's how this comes about. It points out how long it's been since I've done anything about any of these. There's somebody at my doorbell. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I got a box. Can I be one of these one of the cool kids and like do an unboxing live? I have no idea what this is. The shipper is kind of hidden. Could be a bomb. I shouldn't say that. Was not that. In case YouTube. This is where I should pull out my like fancy EDC knife. I never understand why people carry knives with them all the time. A GPU, yeah, that would be nice. Oh my god, this is so nice. Oh, oh my god. This is so nice. I'm. Oh God. I was. So. Somebody sent me, not just somebody. So this is a. So I live on Bainbridge Island, which is just to the west of Seattle. You take from downtown Seattle, you take a ferry, and you hit Bainbridge Island. And we live a few minutes away from the ferry. And on Bainbridge Island, there is the Bainbridge Distillers, and they make different whiskeys and bourbons. And so this is the Battle Point, Bainbridge Battle Point French Oak Straight Wheat Whiskey. It's gotten some pretty good reviews. And so this is from Olama. So, which totally unexpected. Congratulations on reaching 30,000 subscribers, Matt, from the Olama team. What? That's amazing. So, yeah, we opened it online. I had no idea this was coming. It is so bizarre. So, I mean, I worked for them for a couple years, and we separated. Not necessarily my choice. But to have a former employer of yours continue to do amazing things. I mean, this is part of the reason why I love Olama so much, because it's a great product. And the people who are working there are so wonderful, so warm, except when they let me go. But other than that, I mean, that one thing was not so good. But, I mean, they just do little things every now and then. Invite me down to San Francisco for one of the meetups pretty recently, for just all sorts of things. So this is really. I was just looking at the Bainbridge Distillers website just the other day, thinking, oh, I've not seen this bottle. I wonder what that's like. Because my wife and I just finished off the last of the Yama, which is another whiskey from them. So Bainbridge Distillers. In fact, this is the bottle. So that was what I was last looking at. Yes, I'm 21 years old. That's amazing that's the last thing I was looking at. Because we had just finished this bottle. Yes, that is $500 on there. It is pretty good. I don't know if it's $500 good, but I mean, this was another great thing. I bought this and I expensed it. They're just great people, and now great people at Olama. Yeah. So anyway, I was talking about this list. Oh my God, it's just going back. Okay. Do I have this annotated list? So yeah, I think I said how I built it. Okay, and maybe I should do it in. Oh man, that's awesome. I don't know anything about AI Studio. So, oh wait, no, I do know about AI Studio. No, I don't. So that's something I should probably look at. Claude Dev. Interesting. Is this Olama? Why is this even in here? That's weird. That's what? This makes no sense. Here's a tool that lets you use Claude in your IDE, What the hell is it doing in Ollama? Uh, Stuff like this frustrates me, though. Why is this here? It's like some of these that just don't work. This Lowell LMS. I don't know. Maybe he's fixed it so it actually installs now. Harbor. I don't know anything about Harbor. LLM backends with one command. A lot of files. Jesus. Run these things with one command versus the one command you need to run them already. Harbor up. Oh. Looks like it could be weird. A solution looking for a problem? I don't know. I did on my channel, so studio, looking into the back door of my channel. Back door? No, back end of my channel. If I go into all my content, I did a AI tool quick review, and I looked at idea generator. And the idea there was that this is a video. Actually, I should just go to my channel. channel on YouTube. That's probably a whole lot better. So if I go to, this, I do not do a good job of organizing this. Here it is, AI quick review. And the idea here was spend 10 minutes briefly looking at a product, getting it installed, getting it prepared, seeing what the pricing is, if there's pricing or if it's open source, what's a license. Get all those basics kind of sorted out. And then spend the next 15 minutes learning about it, going through it while recording myself. And then minimal editing. Minimal editing. And then just post it. And those will be a quick, what did I call it? A quick look. So it looks like, I think I originally created it because I hadn't gone through my list of things. TechNoEvangelist.com. Because I hadn't gone through all of these. And I think, looking at AI Studio and looking at Cloud Dev, if it's at all relevant to Ollama, or Harbor or Archive. What's Archive? Anyway, looking at all these would be perfect for a perfect use case for that quick look video series. Web app that makes pre-trained LLMs aware of a user's documents. Okay, so RAG. Cool. I've got the standard super ugly UI. Nice. Graph. Okay. Jumping on trends. Nice. Using Neo4j. Okay. Try not to hold it against them. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's another great thing I could do a quick look at. This LibreChat. I seem to remember, was this one I had a hard time with? A few of them I just couldn't even get installed, like this Bionic GPT and this LOL LMS. Incredibly bad name for it. But what else is there? Anything LLM? I mean, I should do an update to this one because it's been a little bit of time since I looked at anything, but I keep looking at it again, and it hasn't really changed much in 6 months. It makes a lot of changes, but not really a big change. And it's still awkward, super awkward to use. But there's all these other tools. Cherry Studio. All of them updated. Again, these are updates are it's not quite right because they are just commits rather than releases. But some of the tools don't have releases. So, and then I have these checkboxes. Has RAG, has web search, has agents. It's not really applicable to a lot of things that I've done reviews on. So maybe I should just get rid of that. Anyway, everyone's quiet. Have you all gone to lunch and just forgotten about me? A lot of people still here. I feel like you've all left. I'm no longer swatting at flies, and so you think, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh, you're here. Okay, still listening. I'm just sending a note to my wife. Tony? Looking at Art Browser while listening. That is amazing. 6 a.m. in Australia. Oh my goodness. So stoked to have you to catch you. You know, Australia is a part of our lives at least once a week. There is a YouTube video. There's a YouTube video that or YouTube channel that we watch that's Australian, and we watch it every time there's a new video. My wife and I will watch it. It's called The Local Project, and it's just a highlight of houses. That's all they do. It's just houses, and but they're all like new, interestingly built. Some of them are god awful, but some of them are amazing. And but then sometimes we see ones like, oh, it's kind of nice. I mean, our house is better. Comparing, it's not helpful to compare, but sometimes you got to compare. Um, and but yeah, it's just a great channel. And so we're all, there's always great houses. My wife's an architect, and although she's not working now, but she was an architect for a couple of major firms in Boston. And yeah. So local project, Australian. Sometimes they do with like an Australian trip as well, and they have occasional videos from the U.S., but they're nowhere near as good. But Australia, and my wife just got into open water swimming around the island or near the island. So I'm on an island, so there's a lot of places to go swimming. But I always remember, like going from, I'd often go to Sydney about 5 or 6 times a year. And whenever I was in Sydney, take the ferry out to Manly or to what's the other one on the other side? Anyway, and see some of those like open water like pools, which are awesome. Scary. What was scary? Now I want to know. We're a little delayed, so when I ask a question, I realize it's going to take 20 seconds for you to get the what is scary. Anyway, so oh, I needed to send a note to uh, to Jeff and to Michael. What was scary? Live chat versus top. No, I'm not in top chat. I'm only in live chat. I don't think I could do top chat. In I'm looking at the UI in Ecamm. What was scary? Arc browser? Was Arc browser scary? Was my God, what is scary? Ecamm. Let's go to YouTube watch page. Not watch it live. Okay, good. Top chat. Let's go to live chat on here. What's scary? My chat keeps locking up and reloading. Oh, open water diving in the ocean. Sharks would get me. Yes. Yes, I worry about that too. I would have a hard time doing that as well. Not that I don't think you need to worry about sharks here. I guess there are sharks in the water around Bainbridge Island, but I don't think you have to worry about it as much. Not like where I grew up. I grew up off the coast of Miami on an island, another island called Key Biscayne. It's fancy now, but it wasn't fancy when I grew up there. Um, and there we'd if you went to the beach at night, like dusk, you could go about 5 feet in the water, and 5 feet out, and we would you'd feel like a nurse shark like brushing up against your leg, and they don't do anything, but it was always a little freaky the first time it happens. And then every now and then you'd see hammerheads. Now they were really nasty. Just get swimming. You could sometimes as you crossed over the first bridge from Key Biscayne to Virginia Key, you could see them at Bear Cut just swimming along, and it was terrifying. So yeah, you go into some places, I'm sure you're dead. But in Australia, they've got these amazing. Hold on. Even in San Francisco, they have this thing. Um, Open water pool, Sydney. I feel like it's in Manly or other places. Um, what's ocean pool? Oh, ocean pools. Yeah. So let's go here. So here we go. So it's a pool. It looks like it has lanes in it. Well, except they're not lanes, but there's sort of lanes, and it's right against the ocean. It's like amazing. This one's like a little higher up, so that's not. Uh, but I mean, some of these, the waves come crashing in, they go right over and go fill the pool. It's so cool. Um, yeah, I've walked past these at Bronte Beach, and I've this one's a little bit much because it's very open. But Bondi icebergs, yeah. So I've walked past that because there's a great walk that goes right past this. Um, oh, there's so much to love about Australia. One of the things I love about Australia is also leaving Australia because I wouldn't want to live there, but I love visiting. And I want to take my wife there and my daughter. Um, and last time oh God, so many great trips. Because I used to do training for Write and I would go to Sydney, and then I'd also go to Melbourne. It was a 3-day class. Darn, you can't fit 2 classes in one week. So I'd do a Tuesday to Thursday in Sydney, and then I'd take Friday to Monday, just slowly driving along the coast, um, and then go to Melbourne. And I had my favorite hotels. In Sydney, it was the Sheraton on Hyde Park. They'd always give me the fanciest room. I'd book the cheapest room, and they'd always upgrade me to like one of the suites at the top, where there's the arch windows and the big balcony. Oh, so awesome! Because I was there going there so often. And then in Melbourne, I'd always stay at the Westin, which was I think the old post office. Amazing, amazing location. Again, buy the cheapest room, and they'd always put me in the nicest because I kept going over and over again. It was amazing. Um, and oh God, so many great trips to Australia. They do have the craziest animals. There's a great Bill Bryson book and the first chapter is like, here's all the ways that you are likely to die from all the crazy animals in Australia. But uh, but yeah. I drove past the Great Barrier Reefs, but I was in such a rush because I've got a camper van in Sydney, and I was dropping it off. Oh, let's go look at my map. So Sydney, Australia. I picked up. This is kind of the mistake that Americans always, or Brits always would make when visiting us in Miami. They would here we go. They would look at the map and say, "Oh, Miami, here's Chicago. That's only that far on the map. We can make it in like a couple of days, right?" Yeah, right. So I looked at the map and I thought, "Oh, Cairns? Sure, that's only that far on the map. I can do that in a week. I'll get a camper van. This is great. This is one of the among the worst decisions of my life. Um, I looked at the distance here and I thought, yep, Sydney to Cairns, I can totally do that in a week. So I got a camper van in Sydney, and then I drove up, and the first day, I keep driving till about 7 o'clock. I think, okay, it's time to find a camper park, like a camper van park, and park there and go to sleep. And I kept going to places, and they kept saying, "Well, we closed at 4. Our gates closed at 4. You can't come in." Like, what? And so I couldn't find a camper van park to park at to sleep, and so I had to stay on the side of the road, which was terrifying because I kept thinking, an axe murderer is going to come out of the bushes and chop me to death. Yeah, so then I had to just drive nonstop from waking up till 3:30 to park somewhere, and then I couldn't go anywhere because my camper van was the one thing, and I was on my own, so I couldn't go anywhere. Oh, it was not a good trip. That was a bad decision. Another one of the, but a good one that I did do was one of the times I went to Melbourne, I had a training in Bendigo, which I understand is they had some fires there, maybe 10 years ago, but this is before that. Interesting place. I love Australia. Come over to Queensland. Yeah, in fact, what am I looking at? Yeah, I should. A little hard to get to though. What else did I do when I was in Australia? I wanted to one time or a few times I had to go out to Perth, but I never had enough time to. There's a train that you can get from Sydney to Perth, and it takes like 3 or 4 days on the train, or maybe even longer. I never had the time to do it. I kept wanting to do it. It never because I every time I'd go to Sydney, I always have another class like the week before in Singapore, and so I couldn't get it so that I had enough time to get from Sydney to Perth in time for that class. So I was super bummed about that. The other one I almost got to do, but I had a training class that somebody wanted to do in Kazakhstan. And I seem to remember what is the airport that everyone flies into? Is it Astana? Um, I don't feel like it was a different name for the airport. Almaty? Anyway, I've there was an airport I had to fly into. I feel like I don't know where it was. Um, I feel like I had to fly in here, and then over here was the class I was going to teach, and there was no way to get there. Wherever it was, there was no way to get there other than train, which would have taken more time than I had, or flying. But the only options for flying were airlines that were banned from Europe for bad safety records. So I didn't go. I canceled that. The only other trip I had to cancel was once I was that somebody wanted to do a trip, a training um, in the French. What is it? The French. What am I thinking of? Like Fiji area, wherever that is. Where is Fiji? Oh, French Polynesia. But they wanted to do the class in French, and I do not speak French other than oui, no. That's all I know. Croissant. That's all I can say. So that didn't work out. Other than that, it was a great job. The class itself sucked. It was super boring, but the travel I got to do, amazing. Just go to Indonesia and Malaysia and Vietnam and Thailand and uh, never quite got to India. Went to Nepal a couple times, but that was outside of work. Um, used to go to Dubai a lot. Wish I didn't need to go there. But all over Europe and all over Australia, New Zealand, South America. Oh, what a great job. That didn't last long. But I'm glad I don't have that job because I wouldn't have a wife. Okay. I think I said I was going to stop. I think I said I was going to stop. I feel like that was an hour ago. My wife said dead flea. That is a. I feel like there's more to that statement because if I just look at the previous things that you said, I see They got the craziest animals, my wife. Something happened between craziest animals and my wife. Usually something between there. How do I protect against prompt injection with the open web? My wife. Got it. Kazakhstan. Yeah. Yes. How do I protect myself? How do I protect against prompt injection with the Open Web UI interface? I want to make a simple chatbot for my nieces and nephews. So you're asking for prompt injection implies to me something else, which I don't think is a danger, but you're just basically wanting to put something online and then allow your relative nieces and nephews to be able to log in, but you don't want everyone else to log in. I think that's what the question is. And I think you just have to have some sort of front end in front of it. I think some people put Nginx in front or some other kind of proxy and have some sort of authorization on that proxy. How do you do that? I don't know. I mean, I've done it before, but I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't know how I would do it now. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to open it and smell it. All right. So I said I was going to stop. Oh, yeah. Yep, pretty much. I have the website up right now, and I have login right now set up. So Open Web UI, that does have that login. Doesn't it already have the login? It's not a very secure login, I seem to remember. I'd like to control a browser via LLM and voice. Okay. Basic auth Nginx would handle the cookies for the session. The other thing that you could do, nah, not really. I was saying, there are some tools for. Oh, there is a. There was a tool I'd seen that you can install on a server, and when some variable shows up on, say, GitHub or whatever, it will update the server information to open up a port to allow you to tunnel in. That sounds like it could be used for bad things, but it's meant for if a server you control, and you want it to be locked down so nobody can even SSH into it. But then when you add some special message on GitHub, it will go ahead and open up SSH so you can SSH in or whatever else, open up a web page. But that's not really that great either, because as soon as you open it up, other people might find it. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you're all mostly set. So like to control a browser via LLM and voice. One thing that you might look into is the other O1, Open Interpreter. So this is the O1 that was released a few days before the O1 model, unrelated. O1 to Open Interpreter. So Open Interpreter had port knocking. Yeah, kind of like port knocking, but this one was actually really simple to set up. I just saw that come through just in the last few days. It looked really well done and super easy to set up. But too complicated. Yeah, probably too complicated for nieces and nephews. So yeah, I realize that. But anyway, Open Interpreter, the idea here is they were creating a hardware device that they were going to sell, kind of like the Rabbit and the Humane Pin. And then what they realized, when all the reviews came out of the Rabbit and the Humane Pin that all basically said this is garbage, they thought, maybe the fact that we don't know what we're doing with hardware might mean we might release garbage as well. So they refunded everybody who did pre-orders, and then made the basically the app available, and so you can install it on your phone, and then you have a server piece that runs on your server, and then it becomes a voice interface for desktop, mobile, and ESP32 chips. I don't know how that works, but so there's a light server that runs on ESP32 embedded devices, and then a LiveKit server for on your machine, on your computer, and then you have a desktop. Oh no, that's the desktop client. Oh, there's a desktop client, and then there's the Android and iOS apps. And when you install the iOS app, you have to accept the fact that this is risky and you might blow away everything on your machine, which is a little crazy. But it's really cool. Definitely watch some of the videos that they have on their website. I think it could be I look forward to people providing some sort of integration for like Home Assistant with this, and maybe other tools. So I think it has a lot of potential for being awesome. I don't know if they still have their videos. When their first videos came out about a month ago, 2 months ago, talking about this hardware device, it looked awesome. But those videos came out right around the same time as Rabbit and Humane. And it's like, oh, this looks awesome, but it also looks kind of like these other things, which really suck. Yeah, that does sound scary. That's why, the Agent Zero, which you can give it a prompt and it will write the application and go back and forth until it has the full application written. The guy recommends that you install it on Docker because it's very easy to, basically blow away your entire machine. So install it somewhere that you can control. But it looked awesome. All right. Anything else? Didn't I say I was going to stop like 2.5 hours ago? Oh, no, I started 2.5 hours ago. Okay. I started doing a video for what was it called? Unsloth, and I haven't finished it. I haven't even recorded it. I mean, I've got the kind of the example working. I just need to record it and edit. So it might be out today. Probably won't. But maybe I'll have it out for next week instead. Now, I'm not sure why. I just was doing it. I went kayaking yesterday. That was amazing. Kayaking here is so incredible. We went off for anybody who knows the area, Hidden Cove, Hidden Beach, Hidden something, and right at the north end of the island in Port Madison area. got on the water, and the water was just flat, super flat. And there's a rock just on the north side of the island that we canoed to, and that rock has these petroglyphs, these drawings that were drawn 10,000 years ago or longer by the locals at the time. And you can paddle out there and see these designs on the rock. So we paddled out there and saw those, and then paddled back, and it was by the time we actually got out of the water, it was even flatter. It was just so beautiful, so incredible. So that's what I was doing yesterday. Okay. I gotta go. I gotta eat. I haven't eaten lunch. I should have eaten lunch before I got on this. That would have been the smart thing to do. But I knew I needed to get on here because I've been meaning to get on for a while. And I finally got on, and then, stuff happens. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thanks so much for being here. This has been fun. I'm going to go back to playing around. Rather than finishing the video, I'm going to go back to playing around with N8N because it's just fun. Okay. Thanks so much for being here. Bye. Stop.